This book reflects my belief that in pediatrics, as in other specialties, a great deal of bad medicine is practiced in the United States. That does not imply, however, that doctors have less integrity or compassion than the rest of mankind. The shortcomings lie within the philosophy and teaching of medicine, not in the character of those who are taught. Doctors aren't culprits. Like their patients, they are victims of the system. They are the first to be impaired by medical education's preoccupation with intervention rather than prevention, its infatuation with drugs and technology, and the indefensible rituals, mores, and egotistical attitudes that are burned into the brain of every student who survives the rigid and often irrelevant curriculum and training. They emerge with their heads so stuffed with institutionalized foolishness that there is no room left for common sense. I don't exempt myself from this criticism of other pediatricians. I confess that I began my medical practice believing most of what I had been taught, and my patients paid the price for many years. Fortunately, perhaps because I began teaching medical students myself, I learned to question many of the medical principles that had been drilled into me, and to suspect every new drug, surgical procedure, and medical innovation that came along. I soon discovered that most of them couldn't withstand rigorous scientific evaluation, and that an incredible percentage of the wonder drugs and revolutionary procedures soon disappeared when it was discovered that they did more harm than good. In my two previous books, Confessions of a Medical Heretic and Male Practice, How Doctors Manipulate Women, I sought to caution my readers about the hazards of blind faith in the American medical profession. It was not my purpose then, nor is it now, to discourage my readers from seeking needed medical attention. Despite the shortcomings of their education and training, doctors do save lives, and they do make sick people well. They are at their best when challenged by medical emergencies, and at their worst when they feel compelled, as they were taught to do, to treat people who aren't really sick. I hoped in those books and this one to alert you to the deficiencies of medical practice so that you would be prepared to defend yourself against dangerous and inappropriate medical treatment. As a subsidiary objective, I reasoned that if enough patients began to question their doctors about the treatments they prescribed, the doctors might begin to question them too. It may be coincidental, and much of the progress must be credited to other critics within and outside my profession, but there is strong evidence that these objectives are being achieved. Many doctors are being prompted by their patients and by the media to question their own medical beliefs. I know this is true because my colleagues frequently tell me so, and because surveys of doctors indicate that a growing number of patients are refusing to take their doctor's opinions at face value. Just a quick note, this book was written in 1984. Patients have become less in awe of their doctors, less docile and compliant. Doctors are no longer, in the minds of many patients, invested with scientific infallibility. Instead, they are being compelled to search for plausible answers to tough questions about the drugs they prescribe, the tests they order, and the surgery they recommend. The impact is great when a doctor repeatedly finds himself looking for defensive answers that aren't there. Many of the doctors I know welcome these changes, but others find them disconcerting when they are unable to explain or to defend many of the drugs and procedures that they have prescribed routinely in the past. In either case, however, the new awareness of the shortcomings of conventional medical practice is yielding constructive changes. When doctors are compelled to question their own behavior, to reconsider objectively many of the things that they have been taught, and to cast an eye on prevention rather than intervention, their patients inevitably enjoy beneficial results. Many reforms have emerged in the last 3 or 4 years that constitute belated recognition by doctors that the side effects of many drugs are more dangerous than the ailments they seek to correct, that elective surgery is often unnecessary and always dangerous, and that the risks of many routine tests, x-rays, and examinations are greater than those of the diseases that they are employed to detect. During the last few years, many of medicine's most cherished procedures have come into disrepute because they could not withstand the public scrutiny to which they were being subjected. For example, and I repeat, this was written in 1984, the American Academy of Pediatrics has advised against routine administration of chest x-rays when children are admitted to hospitals, a tacit acknowledgement of the potential cumulative hazards of radiation, or radiology. The Academy has also reversed its position on routine use of the tuberculin test, except in areas of high incidence of the disease. Hopefully, this may be the first step toward elimination of all dangerous and unnecessary screening tests and immunizations that benefit the doctors who administer them more than their patients. The routine annual physical examination has been scrapped by the American Medical Association. The American Cancer Society no longer recommends routine annual pap smears, and for a time also stopped recommending routine periodic mammographies. Although no convincing new evidence has emerged to support the decision, other than the outcry of underemployed radiologists, the ACS has reversed its position again. It now maintains that a mammography every 1 or 2 years is a safe and highly recommended practice for symptomless women ages 40 to 50. This is in contradiction of the guidelines set by the National Cancer Institute in 1977, which restrict X-rays screening in this age group to women with a personal or family history of breast cancer. In my view, annual mammographies for symptom-free women are a form of self-fulfilling diagnosis. Perform enough of them, and they may produce the breast cancer they are used to detect. Routine chest x-rays, once considered so essential that mobile units provided access to them, have gone by the boards. Although the pharmaceutical companies keep churning out new drugs, there is...
Where was this?
It's to my stand. Although the pharmaceutical companies keep churning out new drugs, there is increasing patient resistance to over-medication. and fewer drugs are being prescribed. The number of prescriptions filled in 1980 was 100 million fewer than in 1974. Perhaps as a consequence, the drug industry is putting enormous pressure on the Food and Drug Administration to permit it to advertise prescription drugs to consumers, not just to doctors. And I guess they were successful because you see it all over TV. Tranquilizer prescriptions dropped from 104.5 million in 1973 to 70.8 million in 1981. The use of Valium, a major source of drug overdose fatalities, has been cut in half from a peak of 62 million prescriptions in 1975. Sleeping pill prescriptions dropped from a high of 40 million to 21 million in 1980. Increasing numbers of women are rejecting the pill and intrauterine birth control devices because of the hazards they present. Breastfeeding is on the rise, a boon to both mothers and babies, despite the continuing failure of many obstetricians and pediatricians to encourage it with vigor. Obstetrical procedures are being questioned and modified, and there is a slow but gradual movement toward natural childbirth and even home birth. These remarkable alterations of cherished medical practices and procedures make it clear that the profession is responding to a rising course of criticism. Not so, however, in my own specialty, pediatrics, which has emerged relatively unscathed and unaltered until now. In the pages that follow, I will expose pediatric practice to the same critical scrutiny that I devoted to other segments of the medical profession in earlier books. But because pediatrics is my specialty, which I have practiced and taught for more than a quarter century, I feel competent to do more than point out its flaws. This book will offer appropriate advice to parents who want to avoid the risk and expense of needless intervention while providing the care that will assure their health, the health of their children. For literary convenience, yours and mine, the pronoun he will be used throughout this book to refer to both boys and girls. Without attempting to be encyclopedic, I will offer specific advice on the medical problems that your child is likely to encounter from the moment of conception to the day he leaves the nest. You will learn how to tell when he is You will learn how to tell when he is seriously ill, how you can deal with problems that don't require medical attention, how to determine when you should call the doctor, and how to assure that the treatments prescribed for your children are appropriate and safe. With this basic information, all parents can assume a larger role in maintaining the health of their children. However, this does not mean that you should assume the doctor's role, doing badly those things that a good doctor can do well.
Hey, no.
Despite the deficiencies of medical schools, doctors do learn technical skills that parents should not try to perform. This book will teach you what you need to know to care for most of the ills that may afflict your child, but also how to know when prudence demands that you employ a doctor's skills. If you read the chapters that follow carefully, they will resolve most of your doubts and fears about the health of your child and help you prepare him for a long, healthy, and happy life. So that was the introduction to how to raise a healthy child in spite of your doctor, and that's by Robert S. Mendelsohn, M.D. And like I said, that was written in 1984, but still, I'm about halfway through, and I've just been sitting down like a couple hours. It's a very easy read, but the information in this book is still very relevant. And here I can read you the chapter titles. Most things get better by morning. Parents and grandparents are wiser than doctors. How doctors can make healthy kids sick. Protecting your children before they are born. Proper nutrition for health and growth. What you should expect of your child. Fever, your body's defense against disease. Headache, usually emotional, but the pain is real. Mother, my tummy hurts. Coughs, sneezes, and runny noses. The mythical menace of strep throat. Earaches, painful, yes. Dangerous, rarely. Protecting your child's vision. Skin problems, the curse of adolescence. Skeletons in the orthopedic closet. Accidental injuries, medicine at its best. Asthma and allergies, try diet, not drugs. And the child who never sits still, like that one that just ran by. Immunization against disease, a medical time bomb. Hospitals, where patients go to get sick. And lastly, how to select the right doctor for your child. So those are all things that any parent could go through, especially with 3 boys running around. So it's an easy read, and it's also free online. I first found this, a downloadable version of this, but it was only a couple dollars online, so I purchased it. And yeah, so thanks for watching my video. I hope you learned something and want to pick up this book. Have a great day, guys.